the very end of your time with the seller, you've done the initial walkthrough, the foyer vignette, setting the stage. You've taken a tour with the seller. That was about 5 to 7 minutes. Now you've sat down with the seller. Ideally, about 20 minutes, maybe longer would be even better. But I can tell you this, if you told me I did a sit down with the seller and I was there for 4 minutes, you probably didn't get the second appointment because remember, you have 5 documents to walk them through real quickly. I mean, like the tax record is about 2 minute document. The move up letter you're going to give, the move up report is again about 3 or 4 minutes. The hidden Zillow thing, again, about 3 or 4 minutes. So, but in the end, you're hoping they lean in and they say to you, "Hey, Brian, what do you think of our price?" Because remember, if you're doing the LEAP presentation in the right order, the last thing you're going to show them is their velocity report, which is, again, the CMA velocity report, again, says if there's 10 active within their price range, within a 1 mile radius or 2 mile radius or whatever it is, in their price point, in their radius, and there's 10 for sale, and there's one pending, then that's a story. And because you're saying we tend to be looking for growth rates of 2 to 4% or 8 or 9%, whatever you're going to say in your area. And off that form, the presentation form LEAP. So if what will happen is if you say there are 4 criteria again that we look for in a property. One, is it turnkey, meaning move-in condition? Number two, is it available in 30 to 60 days? And the seller's going to say yes, yes to both. Is the area appreciating at X%? And they're going to say yes, it is, because they're winging it, the seller. And then lastly, is the property priced right based on the property condition, the market condition? And I've done most of my analysis. I'm not quite complete with it. I've got to present it, the DVA, detailed value analysis, to the loan officers I work with, because they oftentimes have a buyer that's a match for the property. And the seller, a lot of times, will just come out and say, well, what do you think of our price? Now, who is the expert in the room that they're asking the opinion of? That would be you. And if you do everything in the right order, like putting a watch together, you put it together the wrong order, it's not going to tell time. If you don't ask the questions of a seller in the right order and you didn't skip anything, they're going to ask you almost every single time, "Hey, Brian, what do you think of our price?" If they were engaged. Now, some sellers are just disengaged. They have no interest, which is okay. That's just where they are. They have no interest. They see no value, whatever. But you're going to find a lot of people are like, I didn't know that my market had this supply and demand. I didn't know about LOs. I didn't know I was on hidden Zillow. And other people, they're super confident, and that's okay. That's why you have a follow-up campaign with these people. Plus, some people are just putting their armor on to block any agent because they're just so tired of agents. So just try to do your presentation of the documents. Last one again is that you're showing the CMA report, the velocity report, and basically making statements about it. Tell the story, what you see here, and you said it's right there on your sheet. It says, is it priced right based on property condition and market condition? Sometimes right there. This whole meeting, the whole purpose of the meeting was just to get to that question. If you would ask that in the first minute when you walked in, they're going to go, "I know I'm priced right. I had 3 realtors look at it. And my sister's a realtor. I used to be an appraiser." Oh, doesn't mean they're right. So the whole conversation has been for this one question, and that is, you know, the I'm really here to also see, is the property priced right for the market, place condition, and the property condition? And I'll present that detailed value analysis to the loan officers that's on this list, because they are constantly pre-approving buyers who aren't quite out of the pre-approval process, but 9 out of 10 of them get approved. And if they do, I want to be able to see if I get a jump start on that. Tell the LO, I've already got a buyer that's a match for what they're looking for. And so that's why I'm here. And if done with the right cadence, oftentimes I'll just say to you, hey, Brian, what do you think of our value? Now, question is, how do you answer that? Because you want a second date. This was the first date. The second date is where you say, well, I'm about done with that value analysis. And if I could, I don't want to wing it. Um, my job is to help you determine and defend the offer. And the so here's what I'd like to do, um, and that is, could we do a Zoom later today or tomorrow at maybe noon, something like that, or I can come back. But I've just done so many value analysis over Zoom, and I mean, hundreds of them, and got the listing and didn't go back. And it's understanding, but how are you going to make your presentation over Zoom? Because you got to share your screen, share the data. And you just watch the video we have about safe records down below. And safe records is the order of presentation in what you say and what you ask to further get them saying, wow, you just know what you're doing. Let's hire you. Um, so in conclusion, the whole purpose really of this whole initial tour is to get a second appointment, whether it's over Zoom, whether you go back in person, and you hope you trigger that. Now, lastly, if they say, well, we won't hold you to it, oftentimes I'm going to ask them, just out of curiosity, was the value established by, 2, 3 realtors or an appraiser? How did you all come up with that price? If they said, well, I'm a real estate agent, you're going, oh gosh, I wish I would have known that, because some people don't advertise that. They should have. They might say, oh, my sister's a part-time realtor here in town, and she gave me the comps. Or you know what? We had the agent we're buying a house from, and she did the analysis for us, which is like, that's not good, because they have a lot of loyalty, that realtor. So it's amazing what you learn when you ask the question, by the way, I'll answer your question about your price in a second here, but uh, I'll give you some thought on that. But how did you all come up with it? Was it two agents, or an appraiser? Um, and I would joke, or is it PFA, which is what, pluck from air? How'd you come up with your price? And so their response can tell you almost exactly what's going to happen next. And that is, again, well, we bought a house through Sally Johnson, and she's our good friend realtor. We've used her for every property. And we just told her we're going to try by owner for a minute. You're going, oh, well, now I probably have no chance at this one. Um, or they say, my sister's a realtor in a different state, and she told us how to properly price her house. Yeah, it's really great what they'll tell you, but if you ask that too early on your first date, they're not going to tell you that. They're going to be blocking themselves. And so let me think here. The last things here. Now you can share with them. Um, one more follow-up question. Have you already had like 2 or 3 offers on the property? Again, you haven't said anything about your price yet. If you say to them right about now, after you've asked about how they came up with the property value, and you say, by the way, have you come up with, I'm assuming you've already had 2 or 3 offers, because this is a great house in a favorable marketplace. And they're like, no. In fact, this is an opportunity for you to hear the buyer owner be defeated when they say how they react to no offers yet. But what if they say to you, we're working one right now? Once again, you don't want to do your full market analysis. If they say, we're working an offer, we'll probably get it accepted. Or it's funny, some people go, well, it's under contract now. They just didn't think of saying it to you, because you signed up for them to come out and see it, and that you might still want to do a backup contract. It's really amazing. If you ask at the right time, like on a first date, you don't ask somebody, hey, you want to get married? Uh, um, and on the first date, there's timing to everything. So toward the end of your presentation, you're asking about how they came up with the value. to realtors, an appraiser, maybe pluck from air. You're going to ask them, oh, by the way, have you had what I'm assuming 2 or 3 offers so far? Because it's a great house in a pretty good marketplace. And you're going to hear, are they defeated? Are they working an offer? Is it under contract? Are they going, oh, no, we might just go ahead and list it? I'm totally serious. If you say it in this order, they will say things like that. You know what? We're thinking about just getting it listed. We're talking to an agent tonight at 7 o'clock. And you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're telling me this stuff. So then you can make your decision. Are you going to do a full-blown analysis? And then are you going to do it over Zoom? Are you going to come back? At this point, are you going to say your broker fee? Because the door just opened wide right here. And so uh, I want to share one last thing with you, and that is, um, if you're comfortable saying this, the question is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, are you a tad high? I'm personally surprised the house hasn't sold yet because this is a nice house. And it's interesting how you get a buy owner response. We haven't expired, that kind of a thing. When you say to somebody, um, is it possible that you're just a tad high? And you'll get one of those spouses go, I told you, honey, I told you we were too high. And then almost say to them, well, you're at 650. What did you think it was supposed to be? What did you think it was supposed to be? Sometimes I go, I knew I shouldn't be higher than 600. And you're thinking, wow, I was going to have to fight them on this analysis. And they just told me the number. Or they'll say, we had an offer at 625, but we turned it down. And you can learn a lot if you ask in the right order. And of course, I'm going to say this, have you practice your final 5 minutes of your walkthrough presentation. And then when you do your final presentation, the final 5 minutes is so important. Everything hinges on what you ask and how you keep asking more and more and more during that final 5 minutes in a way to see what their motivation is and to see where you stand. All right. Hopefully this blessed you and gave you some good tips on the final 5 minutes of the initial tour to get you that next date.